Hey, this is Jacob Haynes with Incessant Ad Reviews. I'm essentially taking all the ads that you and I both see on YouTube and elsewhere and reviewing it, seeing how incessant is it, how effective is it, why is it effective, and the business model behind it. Let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about the iPhone 13 that just recently launched, and now we're all being bombarded with iPhone 13 commercials. There's 3 specific videos that we're going to watch today, but I need your help to decide something. We can either watch it together and go through it together and I can give my active feedback, or like I'm doing in this format, you can go and pause, watch the video, minute or two, then come back and we can talk about it together. Let me know which format you would like more. And this first commercial is different from what you've seen from Apple, at least from what I've seen. And does it seem familiar? Those who watch comedy movies, does it seem familiar at all? To me, it's very reminiscent and has a lot of takes similar to Hot Rod. Hilarious movie. But an interesting take that Apple decided to go with. Usually they're highly cinematic, feature-focused, or at least product-focused. So for them to insert this kind of Hot Rod-esque video while showing the features as well is really different for Apple, but I think a good take. And obviously it was still highly cinematic. It showed some really good features, wasn't as product heavy, but really enjoyable, and I think for maybe the younger demographic. The next one is showing off the features of the iPhone 13 Pro. That even sounds weird saying iPhone 13. But this one is more a feature and benefit focused, less about telling a story and more about going into the exact specifications of this new model. And they know exactly who this commercial is for: the influencers, for the creatives, for the Instagrammers, right? The influencers, as much as I hate to use that term. And that's exactly who they're trying to show this off for, with a ton of different benefits and features that is done in a highly cinematic format, showing them off. The thing that I find a little bit strange in this is obviously it's feature and benefit heavy, but there's things inserted into it that really, I don't know as a consumer, and I actually used to work in the cell phone market, I don't know as a consumer what it means, right? Like what was it called? The Dolby Vision. What does it even mean? Isn't Dolby usually known for audio? So there's things like that within the commercial that seemed obscure and more of like, I'm not exactly sure what to do with this information. But maybe that's the point. Maybe it's supposed to be obscure and you just hear about the new microchip, or you hear about the, Dolby Vision, and you've heard of Dolby in the movies before, so you don't know what it is, but hey, it's a big name. So maybe that obscurity is on purpose. I don't know. And then finally, we get into this iPhone 13 Pro commercial, and this one is genius. I really, really enjoyed it. Again, they understand their key demographic here, right? It's about the creatives. And so what they're doing here is showing you exactly what you could be doing with their product as well. If you're a creative or you're a videographer, you don't need to lug around equipment anymore. You have your iPhone 13. You have everything that you need in your pocket, and they show it off with every single feature attached to it. Again, fantastic. And unlike the second video that we watched, it's not so much about feature and benefit. They're more about telling a story with this one. With this, it's about the cinematography and making you go, wow, that's beautiful. And them going, yeah, and it's on an Apple iPhone 13 Pro. This could be you if you buy this product. So again, it's less about, hey, this has a new microchip, or this has this new feature. It's, look at all that it can do. And this could be you if you do the same. Really interesting pitch. And I think it's probably the most, out of all their commercials that they have right now, is probably the most effective one, at least for creatives. And before we get into this scoring these videos individually, let's talk about what makes Apple's advertising so successful. Think about their breakthrough commercial, the 1984 commercial, where they're breaking the status quo and from the corporate drones and offering something new when Apple was more obscure in the market. They've held on to that as the identity and beliefs behind their products. That's what Steve Jobs was all about. Apple is for those who feel different, right? We see that in their advertising. It's breaking the mold. When we look at Microsoft and their advertising, when they have something new, they're talking about what you can do in your job with this new tablet or this new laptop. Apple is about what you could become, what you could be. How could you express yourself differently? It hijacks your desires for the need to create and to express your unique identity. And here's what makes their advertising so good. It kind of seems like it's at odds with one another from the way that I look at it, right? Because it's obviously, these commercials are specifically for creatives and those who create content. So it seems very niche, right, of a commercial. But at the same time, anyone who has previously bought an iPhone is most likely going to buy this iPhone or the next one. Why is that? Because it's hijacking our desires beyond just being a creative, but the need to create and the need to express themselves. If a mom who's 50 years old is going to be looking at a phone and she likes pictures, who do you think she's going to choose? She sees Apple with the beautiful videography and pictures that it can take. She's not a creative, but she still wants to express her identity and have something to match that. That's exactly what Apple is about. It's about the feeling that they give you and what you could become, the group that you could collectively be a part of. And we'll talk about that more in the business model later on. But let's score this. We're going to start with an incessant score. How incessant are these advertisements? Second is going to be videography. How theatrical, how beautiful were these commercials? The third is going to be the effective score. How effective is this particular commercial or these commercials at making you and me want to buy the product? And lastly, the business model score. Let's get into exactly the business model of these businesses and figuring out, okay, is this a sustainable company and advertising stream and advertising revenue? So first off, let's talk about the incessant score for these commercials. I'd give it actually a 6 out of 10. Since launch, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 Apple commercials every other day. It's nothing too incessant right now, but I imagine as it gets closer to the holidays, we'll probably see that ramp up a little bit more incessantly. Secondly is going to be the videography attached to this. As per usual with Apple, it is beautiful. A 10 out of 10. They nailed it here, especially with the last one. The effectiveness score. I'm actually their key demographic. Every time I go to upgrade my phone, I go in expecting to get an Apple. And every time I leave, I go, well, let me check out the Samsung or the Android. And somehow there's a feature or two that gets me instead of the Apple. So I am their key demographic. And honestly, seeing this commercial and getting back into YouTube is making me really want to consider getting an Apple again. And let's talk about the business model score. Again, a 10 out of 10 here. Not many companies are going to get it 10 out of 10 scores, but Apple is one of them. Obviously, they've created a monumental amount of value and they've struggled over their history as a company, but they are solidified in one of the best companies in the world. They have a cult following. That's one of the big reasons. Their customers love all their products and buy all their products. And even though you might, buy your first product from Apple and it may be a cheap iPhone, it will nudge you closer and closer to upgrade. Well, maybe I'll get the regular iPhone instead of the SE, or maybe I'll get the Pro instead of the regular one. And then you might get a watch for Christmas, and an Apple Watch that integrates right to it. And then you might get AirPods, and then you might get Apple TV so you can stream the stuff off your phone onto, and you see how it goes. They've created an ecosystem where everything interacts with one another so that as you come into decisions of, well, I need to buy headphones, you're already considering and giving an advantage to Apple because you have their phone as well. It's a genius way to do business and not many people are doing it. So of course they get a 10 out of 10 there. So again, my name is Jacob Haynes. This is Incessant Ad Reviews. Please submit any ads or suggest any ads that you see on a daily basis and we'll dig into what makes them effective or not and their business model associated to it. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you like it. Please interact in the comments what more you want to see and I'll see you next time.